Hello from the land of TV. This is King Cool. Welcome to the Toast Reviews. Once again, we're at the oven instead of the toaster, but that's because it's going to be a little bit of a special thing today. For those of you who don't know how this works, I put something in the oven this time, and I have to talk about the movie that I just saw before it's done. Now, this is going to take 15 minutes to cook, so I know I'm going to have enough time, because what we're cooking today are these popcorn fish things. Your serving suggestion is to keep them frozen? Alright, shut up. This is going to be special because the movie I watched today is Jackie Brown. Ah! Yup, I finally watched it. After a year and 4 months of being on my little suggestion thing, after being one of the first things ever suggested to this show, and having been on Netflix Instant for a while, and then leaving, and then coming back, and after having been suggested after Desert Bus like 6 months ago and all this other stuff, I finally did it. These are going to cook for 8 minutes, at least on this first side. So let's slip them in. Alright, so, change angles, move towel out of the way, turning on light. There we go. So, what's there to say about Jackie Brown? Because the very first thing I put on my queue was Vampiros Lesbos, which apparently this movie has a snippet of music that was taken from that from that movie. Now, I didn't recognize it. In fact, I said at the time that the music from Vampiros Lesbos was appalling. At least the main theme was. I really hated it. So that was, and then somehow it fell through the cracks and I just never watched it. Now, there's a lot of other, I haven't seen everything by Quentin Tarantino. I've seen most of Pulp Fiction on TV. I've seen Kill Bill on TV. What's the other one? I don't think I've ever seen Reservoir Dogs. I didn't see Inglourious Bastards. Because sometimes, like a lot of these other ones, just have a scene of really gut-wrenching violence. Like they cut off the guy's ear. In Kill Bill 1, they tune this out for the TV edit. They just chop people's limbs off and the blood just goes psss. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want any part of this. But like in part 2, it's mostly the dialogue, which some people hate and some people like, and I like, sort of. Excuse me, I'm going to try to cut it my coughing fit. I'm still sort of sick after PAX. Yes, a whole week afterwards. My brother got it worse, though. So, like, I'm not positive I'm a Quentin Tarantino fan. I think people who don't like him have pretty good reasons for not liking him. But, okay, for me, this is probably the one I think I've liked the most unequivocally. Because, okay, the synopsis, I suppose I could say, is there's this stewardess who works for this crummy airline that goes from, like, California to Baja California. You know that little vestigial appendix that sort of hangs off Mexico. I think it's got like Ensenada, Mexico. It's like a bad part of Mexico as far as I'm aware. And yeah, there is such a thing apparently as a bad part of Mexico. Apologies to all Mexicans out there. Nah, whatever. I've never been. So she flies back and forth and does like drug drops and things, or brings money back. And she finally gets stopped by the ATF, and she's the contact of Sam Jackson. Now Sam Jackson very nearly runs away with this movie because he is so deliciously badass, and I'll tell you what. I don't think I've ever heard the F word or the N word as much in the first like half an hour movie as this one, because Jackie Brown appears in the opening, but then she doesn't appear again for another half an hour or so, and then it's just us establishing the whole thing with Sam Jackson. He talks about him dealing, and apparently Chris Tucker. This is one of the other of the 9 movies he's ever made. They talked about him dealing with things. He's trying to get a ton of money out of Mexico, and then when they stop her, now she has to sort of play along with the feds, and it's like, okay, well, but then at the end of the thing, she's like, you know what, like, when am I ever going to get mine? And if I work with Sam Jackson, whose name I sadly forget in the movie, but you know what, I mean, that's Sam Jackson. It's like, yeah, we'll be watching the Avengers earlier today, not earlier today, later into May, and it's still Sam Jackson. Like, and she's like, okay, I can work with him and get screwed, as I did, or I can work with the government, who the people trying to screw her, and possibly just barely get off and then get killed by Sam Jackson for talking. Or I can just make my own plan and try to get mine. So eventually, I don't want to use the word cat and mouse, because it really isn't quite like that. It's just she starts playing everybody. And it's not even like a thing about arrogance. It's really just like, look, like, this might be the only chance I get when I've got... See, because Sam Jackson wants $500,000 out of Mexico. He's got to stand there so he can go retire. And she's like, $500,000 wouldn't be bad. And it's like, well, he's going to cry to take it away from this vicious, brutal killer, So yeah, so she has to play Sam Jackson and the feds while she works with her. Like, the only person who I guess she actually sort of trusts is this bail bondsman, who is the guy who got out of prison, with Sam Jackson's money, but it's very, I don't want to say heist movie either, because that's not really what it is, because it's not about, how like Ocean's 11 is like, oh, they got this new security thing, and it's like, if you go in there, this whole thing goes off and it lets out a bunch of tigers or something. It's not about that MacGuffin. It's like, okay, she got the money, how, it doesn't matter, but now that she's got it, okay, how is she going to keep him from getting it, how is she going to keep these guys from getting it, and it just, as she's explaining her plan, and then she's explaining to someone else what the plan really is, and then explaining to the other guy how she thinks that they're playing the feds, and how the feds think she's playing Ordell. Ordell is Sam Jackson's character's name. He's got a long ponytail in this one, with like long straight hair, and and also a very thin goatee, like just a tiny little braid on his chin. And I'm sort of like, okay, I hope you're never hoping to go incognito, because, I mean, I have long hair, and you're never really incognito with that, so yeah, I enjoyed this movie decently. I mean, I know it's probably a reference to some old blaxploitation thing. I was expecting it to be sort of, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a blaxploitation movie, like a real one, or even a fake one, honestly. I'm just like, I just know the tropes of it from hearing other people talk about them, so I may not even have the proper context to get into this the way someone else might. Alright, we're at the halfway mark. I'll probably cut this part out, because this is boring. I'm gonna move it back. Okay. But I think now it's time for a little intermission. Since the guy suggested this, I know he'll want me to do this. It's now time for that game show that's sweeping the nation. How loud is this chip? Today, we have Wise's Cheese Doodles. Apparently the official potato chip and cheese doodle of the Boston Red Sox. Which this sticker, I think I can take that off. Yeah, there we go. Alright. So Schweppes Ginger Ale is the official potato chip and cheese doodle of the Boston Red Sox. And don't you damn well forget it. That wasn't really in shot, was it? There we go. Alrighty. Here we go. We must have complete silence for this crunch. These smell funny. That's not good. Here we go. There we go. Now back to the action. Let me tell you, I was so happy to find a bag of Jacks. You know, these aren't Jacks, but a bag of Jacks that was only this big. Because you can buy a $4 bag of Jacks. It's like Sun Chips. It's gonna get eaten in one sitting if it's me. All right. Back to Jackie Brown. What's the name of the actress? I think Pam Grier, is it? I think. Yeah. You know what? She's beautiful. Let me tell you what. And she's effective too, because there's only a few moments when she gets into like the I have to sort of be a tough woman and curse a lot category, and that's when like her life is imminently in danger by this you know thug trying to kill her. And so she basically has to be like, yeah, I am totally not playing with you. I have my own gun, and I will shoot your penis off if you, you know, are being stupid. So yeah, she's great. I think the effectiveness of her performance is one of the reasons why I can't quite say that Sam Jackson steals the show, because he doesn't quite. He does a really good job. He's great. And, you know, obviously he's great. But she also is really compelling too. This is a good movie about old people. Like, you know, old criminals just trying to get around to how unglamorous it is. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, friggin' Robert De Niro's in this movie as one of the associates of Sam Jackson. So it's like, okay, if someone told you, okay, Sam Jackson and Robert De Niro are in the same movie. I'm trying to think if they were in another movie together. Nothing jumps to mind. I'm sure something will eventually. So yeah, I really dug this movie. It's not perfect. There's nothing that really made me sort of like jump up and cheer, but maybe that's just because I'm sitting and watching it on a laptop, that I'm not being absorbed, you know, everything on a giant screen or something. I didn't take a lot of notes, which this is the sign that, you know, I've said this is a sign that it's a good movie because I'm paying attention. That's my only notes, is that 20 minutes in, and it felt like longer because there's just so much dialogue. I'm sort of used to now these things. I mean, I say there's a lot of dialogue, but there's also a lot of music things. You know, there's lots of just sitting around, and a lot of times it is incidental music. It's music coming out of a radio like on purpose. And then sometimes it is just like, I'm playing this music while this guy's walking. They can look badass. Boo. And a lot of people, you know, they're like, oh, his music choices or whatever. And I'm sort of like, okay, Zack Snyder is starting to get into my nerves as far as that whole thing goes, but I don't know enough about Tarantino stuff or about music in general to really complain too much. Let's have another Cheeto. That's right. You're jealous, I know. Oh. So yeah, I am glad I gave this a shot. One of the reasons it took me a little while to do it was because it's 2.5 hours, and like, you know, Titanic's been re-released, and people are like, are you gonna go see Titanic? And I'm like, okay, Titanic is 3.5 hours. Like, you can have an entire romantic comedy in the beginning, and you haven't even hit a damn iceberg yet. You know? I'm like, what should happen is, the very first thing happens in the movie is we're like, boy, things are sure going good. Boom, rumble, rumble, and then sink, okay? I'm getting off topic. But yeah, also, Chris Tucker is good in his little performance too. I wonder what happened to him, because he didn't do a whole lot between 2001 and 2007, between Rush Hour 1 and 2, and I don't think he's done a lot since. Not with 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Well, I just seem to be cooking up nicely. I've got about 3 minutes left. Do I have 3 minutes of stuff to talk about with this movie? I don't think so. I recommend it. I mean, I think most people have decided whether or not they like Tarantino, but this is probably the one I like best so far. Like I said, I've seen Pulp Fiction. I like what I see, but I haven't really seen a whole lot of it. I mean, I've seen enough of it, but it's in pieces. I don't want to judge based on that. At any rate, I think we're about to sit here. I'm going to let these cook No, you can't have any, I'm afraid. And I will see you guys next week for the last in user suggested month. I forgot to even introduce that. Man, I'm just not all together today, but when am I ever? At any rate, this is King Cool. Thank you for watching, and please drive home safe.